Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching and Self-Reliance You. Always remember your dreams, your goals, career are all essential. Whatever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. A big thank you to the over 300 people that have subscribed to this channel, Planet Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I am beyond excited to have a wonderful young lady, a student athlete of mine, and really belongs to the whole Bobcat Nation. She's been amazing. First met her when she was a seventh grader. Now she's a big senior, and she's going to West Point to play softball, among other things there. And she played tennis for me, always a fighter, phenomenal work ethic. This wonderful young lady, Jiji Castano. So Jiji, welcome, and tell us a little about your story.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Law. Just a little about my story. I started playing sports. It overall started with karate actually when I was around 3-4 years old. My dad has implemented into my brothers and myself very young that we need to try as many things as we want to really get to what you really want to do, and also to get the life lessons that everyone that's involved with those sports, the coaches that you meet, the people that you meet through the sports, that's really going to bring you throughout life. So even though I haven't done karate in so long, I haven't done boxing so long, I still talk to those people and I still have this social networking within those people, and I still have the life lessons from those people I'll carry throughout my whole life. It's just a big thing he has had implemented into our life.
Well, and you certainly, Jiji, have been a good example of how not only the life lessons, but again, I was always so impressed with you. And I always like to tell the story I told to a lot of people. The mistake I made when I first brought you to the tennis courts as a seventh grader, I should have had you on the opposite side of the courts instead of your back to the backstop, if anybody's familiar with Northeastern. And I'm feeding balls to Jiji, and she's hitting these home runs because that's what she did, So I remember that almost like it was yesterday. And but now you've gotten to the point where you keep the ball in the court very, very well, and still hit the ball out with softball, that's for sure. So you mentioned about being involved with, the karate, the boxing, obviously the tennis, the softball, and a variety of things, and that group of people that you get to know that are different in each one. How has that impacted you, Jiselle?
For sure, it has impacted me in a great deal of ways. One way I really saw and how much it impacted me compared to my peers was actually taking a sociology class this past fall semester with Mr. Eister. And we did kind of a little experiment to see how much your social network really is, just with the last names in York County and then the last names in some random city, he had New York City. And my numbers were so much more higher than everyone else's. And I just realized some people are like, how do you even get to know that many people? It's just, I do a lot of things. I meet a lot of people, or even, oh, I know this person. They're like, oh, have you met Jiji yet? And it creates such a wide network that no matter where I go, someone's like, oh yeah, I remember you, or oh, do you know this person? And that could help you in a lot of ways that you may not realize. And just especially at the age I am, I feel like I'm getting older, but I just started my life. And to getting to this point, knowing the people I do, and then I'm even going to branch out more to a different state, the amount of opportunities that I'm going to get, with not even thinking about the school that I'm going to, it can impact you a lot. And I think a lot of people, especially in my age, to realize that it's okay to branch out a lot more, not necessarily in different sports. It can even just being talking to the random person in a grocery store that you see, but oh, do you know this person, blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden you just have a wide network of people that whenever you need or whenever someone else needs you, it's oh yeah, I remember you. And that has impacted me in a great deal. Just anywhere I go, someone's like, oh, you're Jiji. It goes straight to, oh, you're Jiji. From karate, tennis, softball, school, brothers, parents, just everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I had you come over and talk to Coach Martin from New Oxford the other day, because a couple of weeks ago you hit a softball. They couldn't even find Jiji because you hit it so far off into the woods, and I guess you knocked two out that day. So, but he's always been a big fan of yours, as has Holly Metzger over there at Spring Grove, and all the coaches. So now I'm going to ask you, you're going to make sure that, because you've got all these connections, I'm going to ask you to make sure you contact people and tell them about this interview that we're doing. So make sure that, all your friends know that. And also ask them if they'll subscribe to the channel, because that would be great too. But so anyway, what are some of the key life lessons, Gigi, that sports, as well as getting to know all these people have done for you?
I think one of the bigger like life lessons I've heard and learned, whether through my dad or just coaches I've had in the past, was hard work gets you to a lot of places. I've been told that like talent, all that stuff, that can really help you, but just having the grit, especially, that's a big word, GRIT, grit. Having that grit can get you so far in life, whether not just athletics and sports wise, but also just in academics or just as a person in general. Having that grit to do what you want to get done or your team needs to get done, that can get you really far in life. That can also impress a lot of people in your life and realize like, oh, this person is a team player. This person, whenever it's down to business, they get it done. You're there, like for some sports, some people are like, oh, you're there to have fun, everything. There's time for fun and there's time for work. You need to realize when that time is, and then when it needs to get done, it gets done. And that's especially a big part of it. I realized, especially this year after COVID, to not take time for granted and kind of realize like, oh, I need to get this done. I'm gonna get it done. Whether in softball, school, last semester in tennis, of like, oh, game, oh, I'm gonna get it done real quick and we're good.
Very well said. And we brought I'm glad you brought up the grit, because it's so important, the ability to kind of get out of our comfort zones. And you're one of the hardest working student athletes that I've ever known, Gigi. And you, between your people skills, going the extra mile, and just being involved with a lot of grit. And back in the fall, we use that grit as an acronym, greater results with intense training. And it's just so important because, this whole COVID thing, it's made a big difference on a lot of people. And the idea that you've been able to overcome and get past it, going on to West Point. Tell us a little bit about going forward as far as West Point is concerned, Gigi. I mean, you talk about moving above and beyond your comfort zones. I mean, you're going to be, it's going to be something there for you.
One of the biggest example, I would say, moving forward to West Point that I had to learn, not just this past year, but in the past, I would say 3 years, is recognizing a big thing there is you're not coming in already as a leader. They're going to teach you more as a leader, like leadership skills, but you have to have kind of like the base factor when getting there. And one of the things I realized, I have learned the qualities or gathered the qualities from past coaches or my father of being a leader, but I had to learn that you need to adapt to your situation or your environment around you. For example, in travel ball, I realized, oh, I've always been more of like the silent leader. I lead with my example. I never really not one to yell at the girls or even give like example vocalize. And this past year, really, especially with COVID, where some of the girls, they haven't really been around the people in a while, I realized, oh, I need to step up, and because I was losing some of those people that I need to lead in translation. And I'm like, oh, why don't I just split myself in two, and whoever it is, I can just adapt myself. That's okay. I'm fine with doing that, because I don't want them to have it change their learning styles. I'm like, why don't I just change myself for when the situation needs it? And I know that definitely helped me a lot, especially doing my interviews for West Point this past year. They told me that was kind of a big thing for me to start doing, because when I get there, I need to be able to think of that on the fly. And I think me being able to do that, just thinking in my own head, like, oh, I have some of these girls here, different talent levels, different school, different backgrounds. Oh, why don't I just take it upon myself? Like, oh, this girl, maybe she does want someone to yell at her. Oh, this girl, I just take her to the side, show her a little bit. Or this girl, she doesn't want just herself. She wants maybe a group to show her. I just learned, maybe I just take it upon myself and that'd be fine. And I realized adapting to my environment, that's kind of a big thing. I think that I do very well, and going to West Point, I think that's going to help me a lot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Gigi. Well put. Hey, tell us a little bit about your dad, the impact he's had on you, because numerous times, we'd have the guys out there as far as the guys tennis, or I'd be out there during the summer and your dad is out there helping you with, as far as your softball is concerned. So I'd certainly like to do a wonderful shout out to him, because he and I've gotten to be Oh, I'd say pretty strong acquaintances, if not friends at this point. He's just a fantastic person, role model. So tell us a little about your dad.
Oh, I don't even know where to start. Concerning my dad, always since we were young, unfortunately, with like his accident in the army,
Mhm.
it just turned into more a positive thing because he was able to stay at home with my brothers and I a lot more. I learned that he just taught us so many life lessons of when you need to get it done, you get it done. Always reach out to people whenever they always be there for everyone. But the main thing just involving softball, like we were actually at the field this morning hitting, it's just he goes the extra effort to learn some things that a lot of parents or even coaches may not know. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if a lot of people even realize this, whether on travel ball, high school, anything, no matter if one of my brothers or I are interested in a sport or an activity, he is staying up late at night researching it, finding the best people. If he can't figure it out, he's finding the best people to teach us that or explain it, or even going the extra mile if like we can't go out to someone to get like the best lessons. Oh, he's gonna get video from that person to show
Mhm.
us. And I think that's definitely been a big difference, or even something that I've never seen anyone else do for their kid, or even one of the coaches to do for like just a group of team. Like he's always the one to step up and be like, oh, like I'm interested. I know I want the best, not just for me or even it's just even for my teammates.
Mhm.
Like, oh, like here's this information and here's what you could do with it. Because not everyone always has like the resources to get the best information out there, which that should never be the case. But it's like, oh, I'll do the extra mile. Be like, here you guys, here's, and then what you do with it is your concern.
Mhm.
But he's always late at night, he's always researching whether even tennis, softball, my brothers for swimming, volleyball, football, boxing, everything. It's just he wants the best for everyone, not just his kids, but everyone just around us. He's always looking to mentor kids, mentor people, help anyone that needs it. And he's just probably the best dad I've ever had.
No, he is remarkable, that's for sure. And I've grown to, we've gotten to know each other, and he's kind of a quiet guy. He kind of, when you first meet him, he doesn't say a whole lot, but you can tell he's checking in on people or whatever. Can I count on this person? That type of thing. Without a doubt. So yeah, he's definitely been a huge role model for you, Gigi. Other role models that you've had and learned from that you'd like to make a point about?
I would definitely say I've been very lucky to have a lot of influential coaches such as yourself, Mr. Law. I always think back in seventh grade when you trying to get me to the tennis court, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I never really even thought, I didn't even know the team or the school had a tennis team. I just knew, I was like, oh, it's that thing next to the softball field. But that's has been a very big influence in my life of playing tennis. Whether not just getting me ready for softball, it's just it took me. I'm used to always playing team sport, looking for all this stuff, but it took me out of my comfort zone, especially playing tennis, and it made me like rewire my brain and look like, oh, what else can I do? It especially opened the door to meeting new people, exploring meeting new people also within the school, and that was definitely a big thing. But also in softball, boxing, I've always been lucky. I don't know, not everyone can say that, but I've always had good coaches, whether I was 7 and playing softball, t-ball, whether I did boxing in middle school. Definitely shout out to Antoine. He has probably like the best boxing school like around here in New York City.
Yeah, and what's
Any
Antoine's last name, Gigi?
award,
Okay. Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And or Anton Dorm in he has a son actually, man, that came back from nationals in Louisiana. There he's definitely big influence to just his community around him, York City. Definitely just any coach. I've just been so lucky.
Mhm.
That's goes back to my dad doing good research, make sure I'm in the good hands. If he can't do it, to find someone else that can. Just always just overall, everyone's just good people I've been around.
Yeah. Well, that's super. And one of the things that I try to emphasize to kids too, Gigi, is the idea that, and I know you played a lot of softball and everything, and I know it's your main sport, but the one thing that I try to encourage, and I know Mr. McCollum would agree with it, Mr. Oyster would agree with a lot of the coaches, is play multiple sports because, for example, the overuse issue. for example, and I think of your brothers, let's say swimming, and the overuse as far as the shoulders are concerned. It's real important that you get into, other sports so you don't get those overuse injuries.
Yeah.
And you've had a couple of injuries, and fortunately nothing that's been real severe, but you've had some things where I'm hoping that, being involved with tennis for a couple of months, so it wasn't quite, a full 12 months of softball, actually helped you physically.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And everyone always asks me like, "Oh, how do you have the time for that? How are you not tired at the end of the day?" And it's not even, everyone just say, "Oh, you're just a different person. That's good for you." I'm like, why don't you just, like, if you have the chance or opportunity, like, try it out. Like, it makes your life 10 times better just being involved in different things, whether you're meeting new people, whether you're meeting new coaches, or just learning new life lessons you may not learn in your current sport you're in. But even like your body, just overall, it's just building your whole self up. Like you said, overuse, I've seen that, especially in softball, your repetitive motion, you have to get better, do the same motions.
Mhm.
But if you're doing that all year around, especially trying to get to the next level, your body's just going to get tired. And especially, I love going to tennis, where I just felt a lot more freer, and I move around a lot and doing motions that I would never do in softball. And I know that definitely helped me a lot during my high school career, where doing travel softball year round, but having that space of tennis also within, and then having to go into high school, that definitely helped me out to keep my body a lot more free moving, and a lot
Mhm.
more uh not injury induced also.
Sure, sure. No, it makes total sense. Uh, Gigi, any last second thoughts here as far as advice you would give to, upcoming high school kids? And as I already said before, you're one of the finest student athletes I've ever had the privilege of coaching. And, so just the idea that one of the things I'm always looking for is kids that have what I refer to as kind of a forward glide. They want to be somebody. They're willing to push against various challenges and that type of thing, versus somebody that I'm not sure what I want to do. You want to be what I call a meaningful specific, not a wandering generality. In other words, just kind of have some goals on what you want to do. So what are some of your thoughts, for some of the younger student athletes that may be watching this, that you would advice you would give them?
One of the biggest things I would say is definitely advocate for yourself. This doesn't mean to like take everything upon yourself, do everything yourself, and to like find information yourself. It's okay to ask for help. But when I see like advocating for yourself, especially in academics, or maybe like your like main sport, is go find the information out yourself. Like, if there's no one around you, like right there next to you, helping you or coddling you, I would say it's okay. Google's right there. Like, you can search things up, and maybe you may not have the resources to definitely like get stuff done right then and there. But once you have the resources to like, oh, have those questions, then now you know what you're looking for. Like I always say, I was lucky enough, I knew what I wanted to do since I was 10. And there's been some like little details changes within there, but I always knew what I wanted to do, because since I was 7, I've always been researching and looking for what I want to do, and like more, and it just got more specific as I got older. But every year I would ask my classmates, and it probably sounds crazy, I would ask like, what do you guys want to do when you get older? What do you want to do? And I was like, oh, how are you even thinking about that? I'm like, how are you not? Like, it's so close. We're gonna, like, we may be 7, but soon we're gonna be in high school. And now we're in high school graduating. And I see some kids lost in translation, where it's okay not to have everything decided, but we're adults. Where when you're 18, legally you're an adult, and you may not always have someone there for you. And even though you can have choices, but some people it's just a blank slate. And I'm like, it's okay if you're not going to extra education, other stuff, but there's other stuff that I know people can for sure get done, but they think like, oh, I can't maybe do that, or I don't have someone next to me. And it's like, if you would have done like just the extra research, having these things, now you know the questions to present to the people that you may need to get help from. Like, oh, if this not going to work out you for, then I'll try this option or this option, which I think that's definitely okay. But I've always asked my peers just kind of, what are your options? Like, just kind of setting like the question there for themselves. If I see like this person, like they're really good in school, really good overall, they never ask themselves those questions.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, like what do you want to do? Like, what do you often? I'm like, oh, how about you look at this school? Oh, that's not a good choice. Oh, how about you look at this trade school? Or how about like, oh, you try to work there? And I've definitely seen a lot of different changes in the people I've talked to. And I wished I would have got to talk to a lot more people saying that, but I never was the one to go reach out there. But I would definitely say the biggest thing, advocate for yourself.
Mhm.
And I tell everyone that. I say everywhere, like, you need to get something done, just do it yourself. Like, it's quicker, it's faster. Now you know the exact little details, and that's just the biggest thing I've definitely always, since 7, I've been saying.
It's fantastic. Gigi, here you are, 18 years old and wise beyond your years. And believe me, I think wisdom is far more important than knowledge. And knowledge is important. Don't get me wrong, but you've got some wonderful wisdom going here. What I want to do is have you hang around afterwards here, if you could. And also, I'm going to have, besides your this particular interview, I'm going to put the 20 or 25 seconds on a follow-up video of you hitting the softball that I took the film a couple weeks ago. And the ironic thing is, I pointed out to a lot of the tennis kids, I said, watch her footwork. That's exactly what you should be doing as far as striking a tennis ball. Now, the trajectory in a softball bat is different than the tennis racket, but you were doing it beautifully, that's for sure. So, Gigi, this has been wonderful. If you could hang out for a little bit after we get done, just to chat a little bit, appreciate this so very, very much. So thank you. And really all the best to your family and everything. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, Gigi. Thank you. And just hang on there. We'll be right with you.